Hello and welcome to Entrepreneurial Journey. And today my guest is Nate Morse, Nate Morse Consulting, and he is a LinkedIn master. So if you are not on LinkedIn or active anything, if you want to know more about LinkedIn, just post LinkedIn below and it will follow up with you later. So Nate, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so Nate Morse Consulting offers a service called the Apex Conversion System. And that's our main offering right now. And what that is done for you. Basically, we help you book sales calls. And a lot of that has to do with sparking the right conversations with the right people. But I know we're going to get into that later. But yeah, so getting sales calls with the right qualified prospects so that you can, get more clients, and doing that through LinkedIn. But it's done for you. So we have people that get clients and they've never used LinkedIn before, and they'll come in and now they get a bunch of calls from LinkedIn, but they don't even have to use the program.
That is amazing. So I just have some getting to know you questions. Do you
Sure.
prefer pie or cake?
I would say cake, specifically because of cheesecake. I think the cheesecake has a special spot.
That's almost a hybrid, in my opinion.
Is it? Okay.
Because the texture. No, that's a good answer. But
I'm still saying it.
Yeah.
I think the cake has more options. I think it has a better tone. I think that there's a better energy. If we talk about environment, I feel like cake, is more pie is more chill, and pie is good, right? But cake is usually more exciting.
Yeah, used in a celebration.
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Exactly.
What would be easier to give up, caffeine or meat?
Dude, this is a hard one. Okay, so I like that question. So tried, what was it? I watched Game Changers. There's a Netflix documentary, right? And that was on the vegan path. And so I tried that and I hated it. And I do jujitsu and my strength totally went out the window. And I was not a fan. So that would be the one, but caffeine would be super hard. If someone asked me to give up caffeine, I would still say no for sure. But yeah, life without steak is just weird to me. I'll once it's competition training season, I'll eat a steak a day. So
nice. Wow.
I can't do it without that. So
okay, worst job you ever had?
Dude, worst job I ever had? This is a good one. Let's see. The worst job I ever had, I would say, can I give two?
Sure.
Okay, so one was because it was doing stuff that I didn't want to do, and the other one was because it was literally just that boring. So the first one was I worked at a car wash. It's probably my second or third job. I was 16, 17 at the time. And yeah, I was working at a car wash, and the previous manager. Okay, so when you're in a car wash, your car goes into the that guider thing, right, that pulls your car along. But then there's grates actually, because the cars get sprayed down, and then there's grates, and then there's this well where everything goes into. Okay, so what you're supposed to do, the car wash company is supposed to pull out these grates and regularly clean this trough that's underneath, which is dead animals and all the other stuff, right? Okay, so 3 or 4 months into me working there, the manager that was there got fired, and I guess for the last 6 years he had never cleaned the grates.
Oh my gosh.
So getting paid minimum wage, which at the time I think was $7.40 still. I was standing in but I was a high energy guy. So at the time, I look back now and I'm that sucked, but I was still had a smile on my face, and everybody probably thought I was weird because of it, because I just like to work. But yeah, we had waiters on and wheelbarrows, and just had to close the place just so we could shovel out 10 years worth of the stuff under people's cars.
You are opening some eyes right now of people that never knew.
Yeah, so that was really bad. The other one would be I worked at it wasn't bad. It was bad in a different way. I worked at everybody wants this easy job, but they're oh, I want a super easy job if they're looking for a job. This is the entrepreneur journey, so no one here is that type. But a lot of people are when you're younger, you're I just want to find a job that's easy, right? And so I got a job at a ski lift, 30 minutes away, and it was 10 hours a day, and you sat in there's the bunny hill and they have the rope, right? So you'd sit in that box, okay? 10 hours a day. Inside, you have two buttons. You have a red button and a green button. If someone falls, you hit the red button. If they get back up, you hit the green button. And that was it.
Wow.
That was the whole job. So that was the complete opposite one, where it wasn't you were doing nothing basically,
Mhm.
but like you had to pay attention. And so I realized that I didn't want that. At
Man.
first I thought it was going to be cool because it was me so easy, but then I realized that like that you don't want that. So yeah, so I had that, and then yeah, then the car wash was pretty bad looking back.
So,
That's
favorite
gross.
sports figure?
Favorite sports figure?
Hmm. I didn't want to say athlete, just to kind of preface this. I didn't want to say athlete because a lot of people it's a coach or something. So,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so man, it's a tough question. Um, I mean, I like everything that comes out of the whole Michael Jordan situation.
mhm.
I'm not like an insane sports guy, but I like Michael Jordan. I grew up playing golf for a lot of my time, so Tiger Woods is also like that. So I like him as well. So it's more like, yeah, the principles they stand on. In jiu-jitsu, there's a guy, his name is Gordon Ryan. He has hair kind of like this as well. Um, and he's got a cool attitude. He's doing a cool thing in the game that I like.
Nice.
So yeah, if you between one of those guys, they're
Oh,
different areas.
okay. More comfortable in the city or in the country?
Okay, so we're talking like city, right?
Hmm. Like New York, Chicago.
Yeah, yeah. Um, in terms of comfortable, because right now I live in like the middle, like a middle,
Hmm.
like just like a kind of a suburb. And I mean, there's both. Like I like the city because I like the people there. But I also like my quiet time, and I have a dog, and I kind of just wish that he could just like go run in like a big like fenced-in backyard or something like that, and like then you can shoot guns, whereas like you totally
Right,
can't do that in the city.
right, right.
But the city has all the opportunity. Everybody's close. That's where everything is. Um, if you, I think like I live in Michigan right now, where I don't think I would want to live too far out during the winter. Like I think
Right.
that it would just be everything would be worse. So that's a tough one, but I think I would say I would try to find something that's like in the city but accommodates the dog. That's the main thing, I think.
Yeah.
Him
Wow.
having space. If I could
Yeah.
find something in the city that had that, then I think I would be set.
Yeah. I think
Whether
that'd be a
that's like
hard thing to find.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So now I have some questions about your entrepreneur journey. Why did you get into what you're doing now?
So why did I get into what I'm doing now? So right now, essentially what I'm helping people do is get the calls, but they don't have to do any outreach. Because I have like 10 years of sales experience from going door to door to cold calling to cold emailing to working at like AT&T, like a phone store, to working at a car dealership, to selling online to small businesses and calling them, and networking, and all of that, and just the amount of time that people spend to spark like a conversation that's worth continuing, like in the amount of effort that people have to put into that, is quite a bit. Like people put a lot of effort into it, and so it's like we're connected to everybody. So why can't we just figure out what the right things are to say to the right people, right? And so if I can do that, then I can eliminate that area. Because when I was younger and like I started businesses, because I've always had like side businesses. This is probably the biggest one for sure. But I've either been like an entrepreneur or started other businesses, and I would always struggle at the point where I had to continue to bring in new business once I had business actually coming through the door, right? So I needed something. So some people do, like they post online and whatnot, and that's great, right? But I've found that I do a lot better if I have outbound and inbound, especially if my outbound works. So we just build a system for us that gets us the meetings, and then I notice that everybody else, there's not really a good like solution out there for most other people when it comes to anything like this. Like usually their results like are not that good. Um, so then I just realized I'm going to offer this to other people, and that's going to help me as well, because that's more data and more experience in that area. And I've always loved this idea of like sparking, like turning something like cold to hot, like where it's worth like talking to, like sparking a conversation. Um, so yeah, so big into that, just like as a principle I noticed throughout my years in sales. So I like that area.
Nice. So what is the biggest challenge you ever had?
The biggest challenge I've ever had. Oh man. Okay. Like in my entire life.
I mean, entrepreneurship, anything. Yeah, it's an open-ended
Okay.
question. So,
Cool. So we're gonna get super vulnerable here.
all right, awesome.
All right. So about like, man, what was it? So when I was younger and I was in sales, I had friends that they were more the party type, and I was more of the entrepreneurial business type. And so I wanted both. So I would hang out with them really late, and then I would wake up really early. And so I get like a little bit of sleep, and I'd be, drinking and stuff, and it wasn't that good. And so I did that, and then one day I came home, and I had a seizure, and it was a grand mal, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. So this is about to get crazy. So had that, and then like couldn't drive or anything, and had to quit my job and get a different one because you can't drive, and that changes everything. And so then the doctors are like, hey, this is fine. Like you get like one free card, and then you can go again, or you get one free card. If it happens again, then you have epilepsy. So
Gosh.
they're like 6 months later you can drive, right? So I'm living in this weird spot where I'm like, man, what happened? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, I'm super like drained and tired because like that's a big thing because your body just like full on flexes all the muscles. And then 6 months later had another one. Okay. And so these are full on like 10+ minute big seizures. And then I had these little things too, like these little like jerks where I'd be like holding a coffee cup and I'd drop it. Like there were many times I like dropped bottles or whatever, like things would break. And so I'd have like 50 to 60 of those a day. And then I had the grand mal, and then it was one every 6 months. So for like 2 years, kind of went on like this. It was like one every 6 months, then it was like one every 3 months, then every month, then it was every other week, then it got to every other day. Okay. And during this time, they gave me a script, but I didn't want to take it because the side effects said like some people had bad reactions. So I was trying everything to not do that. I was like, I have like 48 days logged in Headspace in meditation time because I believe that was how I could hold myself back from going through the threshold, and that I just needed to learn how to slow down as a person because I'm really fast. And so yeah, so every other day. But once it got to every other day, it was like I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna die
Oh,
if I don't do this, right? So I did that. But challenge wise, like essentially for a couple of years there, I was like a ticking time bomb, and like I like force restarted like every other day. So when I got to that stage, like you look at like life differently, right? So like just the fact that you can do things, you know, I'll see people that like complain about things and like they don't understand that they have the ability to do that thing, and like that's all I wanted for years was to be able to go back and do like normal things and be able to like drive down the road without being afraid of being a time bomb and hurting myself and other people. Once I took the medicine though, I was good. So I'm this June will be 5 years without it. And so since when I,
nice.
or not without like without a seizure. So when I took the medicine, everything was good from then. I haven't had any problems whatsoever. So that was perfect. June will be 5 years. So that's when I can actually like wean off. But yeah, I remember going to like Olive Garden, like with the girlfriend that I had at the time. And like, if like my body would get like any like tenseness, or if I get nervous, like my body would freak out because it'd be like, okay, what was that physical reaction? Right? What was that? So then it would hyper focus on that and then hyper focus on the surroundings because it's like a danger situation. So I'd like have a panic attack and I'd go sit in the bathroom for like 30 minutes just to like chill out. My face would be like all white and I'd chill out. So yeah, doing that. And then at home I would just be reading like business books and sales books, and I was still doing digital marketing and on the side. Um, and then at the job at the time, actually, I was an entrepreneur with a company because I left the other company to pursue a job I could work at home because that made more sense, right? I could actually like work with this. Um, and so yeah, so that was for sure the hardest challenge. Was that
Wow.
without a doubt?
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So just a follow-up question, that's not
Go
really
for
on the
it.
questions list. So are you saying you can leave the medicine behind after June?
Supposedly, yeah. Supposedly, then you can wean down if you want.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that you are recovered from that.
yeah. No, that was crazy. There were like so many times that I got lucky. Like I remember there were times where like I drove and then like I walked in the house and then like had one, but I like drove for
Hmm.
like an hour before that. So it was like
Wow.
that. There were some really crazy things, for sure.
And like you said, I think it just probably gave you a lot more gratitude for some simpler things.
Yeah, because you have to look at life as a whole every other day, and like how like sometimes there's like your environment or different things like put pressure on you that like force you. It's like we're here and then something in life happens and all of a sudden it forces you to like get your shit together or whatever,
Hmm.
right? It's like that, but like times 10, and then you have it every other day, right?
Wow.
So it's like it's way more of an intensive an experience for that. So I had to get like real strict on like who I wanted to be and what I wanted life to be like, because like it was something that was like potentially being taken away every other day, and you didn't know like how much time you had left. So yeah, just totally different world throughout that time that I just looked at life differently.
Wow. So two key ingredients you would say, for your success.
Two key ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, focus. I think that focus is like a superpower. And if you like lead yourself, okay, so if we know that as humans, like we adapt, if we whatever we focus on is what we adapt to, right? So like if you want your day to be a certain way, or if you want to get some certain result, all you have to do is put yourself in the environment where you know that you're going to execute on the thing. So I think that like leading yourself, understanding who you are versus trying to do things, like leading yourself, I think is better. I think that's the best thing is just controlling on where you're going. Because if you're just following, but then you have this other version of you that's leading, that's way easier than trying to push through and decide at the same time. So if you can understand that you kind of work in that way, that there's like you that decides and there's like you that adapts, use the you that decides for the laziest person of the you that adapts. And then that makes things way easier because the lazy person that does things can trust on like the thinker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good insight. It's really
Cool.
cool.
So I would say, yeah, so focus for that. And then the other thing would be mindfulness. Like I think that throughout the seizure thing, like just getting so aware with my thoughts, and like being able to let thoughts go, and also be in a state of like no mind or like flow state, like that's almost like margins. Okay, so when you're going to engage in something, you have like a margin of your attention span, and whatever you're thinking throughout the day fills up that area because it's trying to hold on to that, right? So you might have some ideas to increase your mindfulness, because that's like almost the quality of you engaging with it, right? As if we're like a chemical reaction of how we interact with the thing that we're going to do. The awareness is like the quality of how potent we are when we interact. So if we can increase the margin of the awareness, then we're going to do better. So a couple ideas is like writing things down. Like if just whatever's on your head, just write it all down, because then that's going to get a lot of it. We're using energy and holding thoughts just to try to hold them because we feel like we need to remember them. So write them all down and then highlight like patterns and circle action items and use those. And like throughout the day, you can do that to constantly like offload what you're doing, and kind of give yourself a way to actually use that versus just like dump it. And then the other one would be like just meditate, because it creates a state that you're familiar with after you've been doing it for a while. And then if you can seek that state because you're familiar with what it feels like while you're doing something, then you're also going to be in awareness, like in a good awareness state. So you're like strengthening what that feels like and what like that contract, like if you're working out and you're trying to feel what the contraction, like the more that you work out, you know what that feels like, right? And so you can do it better. So that's kind of what meditation is. And then yeah, the tactical side would be writing things down throughout the day as they build up to keep that. So focus, and then the quality of what happens on the things that you focus on with the mindfulness.
So I've heard about, just to expand on that, I've heard about journaling, and a lot of people do that at the end of the day. So it kind of is what you're saying, kind of like journaling throughout the day.
Yeah, I say do it in the morning, and then whenever you're overwhelmed, like if you're overwhelmed, like dump some stuff off.
Nice, nice.
Like having a process for handling that.
That seems like something I want to pick up, because I'm not doing enough journaling, and I always thought about doing it at the end of the day, but then I'm like, why not do it like just throughout the day? So
yeah, I think it's best at the beginning because then you like clear the slate. So like I know you do, like you have like a vision doc, right? Like we have like the morning formula and stuff. So if you're gonna do it like that, like you should journal in the morning because that's gonna clear out the state, right? Like that and meditation are gonna clear it out. And then when you put the morning formula in there, like that's the frame for your focus of what
nice.
happens after your morning formula. So you should be pre-framing throughout the day, like framing whatever the next thing is. So like if I even want to be like, okay, my awareness, I want it to be themed in like sales. Before I do a sales call, I might do sales training because it's going to put me in a state of recall of things that are similar. And then it's also going to give me a state of curiosity because I have things that I wonder what they're going to turn out like.
Nice, nice.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So I know you have a book too. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's over. Yeah, so there's a cool AI program. The guys at Proof, they're like the best company for if you see that little notification in the bottom corner that's like, hey, like 120 people signed up for this thing today. So I was in one of their original companies, and so yeah, they They had me come in as like the second person to do stuff for LinkedIn. And so they have an AI program. One of them made a book. One of the guys in the group made a book like in a week. And so he was like, hey, I challenge everyone else. And I was like, I like this like pressure environment kind of thing, right? So I signed up for it too. And I also noticed that on a lot of my calls, that people would ask what I do, right? Like they would wonder like what I'm doing. And I'm like, man, I need to get them to know what I'm doing like earlier, because otherwise I'm like educating on the call. So then I made it where I put this like in the sequence once they sign up for a call, like they get like the PDF version of this for free. So that works out. And then also it's just like people think, Seth Godin has this phrase that's people like us do things like this. So when I think of like, okay, who am I gonna when they talk, what is their wording gonna mean the most? And that's usually going to be someone who's an author, right? That's a more prestigious tier of work, right? And so if I can create that and have that, right, like perception wise, because I put in more effort to make something that's more legitimate, even though this book is like pretty tiny. That's really cool, and the market likes that. And then it became a bestseller on 4 lists, and that was pretty cool. I didn't expect that. But yeah, and then now since I made this, now I'm thinking, okay, like other people are making posts and other things. Like what if I can make, more weighty content than the competitors, which would mean that I'm making impact, right? Like speed, like quicker than other people are, if I can figure out how to like cut those margins. You know what I mean?
Yep. If anybody wants to check out that book, we're going to put the link in the comments below the video, so you can check it out there. What's the name of the book again?
The LinkedIn High Ticket Handbook. Bridge the gap between you and high ticket clients using strategies, frameworks, and even AI, which I kind of detail because I tell people to use AI to like write their posts and optimize their profile. And so I kind of give like some steps for that in here.
Nice. So everybody should check that out. So let's talk about LinkedIn. So I think most people don't understand the power that is in LinkedIn. Can you tell us why anyone who's not actively on LinkedIn should be on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So I mean, it's not so much like on it. They should be using it, especially if they're going for high ticket clients, because when we're looking at high ticket clients, we sell this expensive service, right? That does a lot of power. We do well because we offer something that's specific for what they want, and we can reach out to them in a personal way, right? So our relevance is really high towards them, right? So if you look at the different social media platforms, LinkedIn, you have just one example. Like it goes further than this, but just one example, starting out and setting the tone for the rest of the thing, is that you have a connection note, right? There's no other platform that has a connection note, right? And so if you want your outreach to be effective, like you want to be noticed, and like there's not very many ways for you to get noticed in a Facebook inbox, right? It's not that Facebook's bad. Like Facebook is way better for inbound, I think, because LinkedIn groups, like they're not there compared to Facebook like at all. So in terms of inbound, I think the inbound would be better on Facebook, but outbound I think is way better on LinkedIn. And also the tone is more business focused, so people kind of know more what's up versus they're not hitting you up for something that's on the local yard sale.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see most people doing wrong on LinkedIn?
So I have this what do you call it, like a construct, kind of like an idea of a methodology that, like, if we all were to go look at our inboxes right now from people that send us messages with their connection notes are like, hey, I see that you're a business owner, right? And so let's think of it like this. So in order to turn something cold to hot, right? That's what we want a conversation to do. That's what the whole point of cold outreach is, to spark and figure out the people that want to talk to you for what you have and actually create the conversations, right? So that's why as our service, we do that for people automatically, right? Because that part takes like forever, and up until someone responds is predictable. So if we can write the right stuff and get the right people, they're set. But for LinkedIn specifically, and what people are doing wrong is that like their messaging isn't relevant. So when I look at that spark, I look at it as an electricity wave. Okay. And so, and driving results would be a continuous electricity wave. And each one of those waves, I believe, has like 3 parts. So the starting part is going to be like the human and genuineness of the approach. So like, just being nice when in your wording. And then I think that actually that top point, that pull, I think that's actually the relevance. And then the bottom part where it comes back down, if the relevance works, is in the value. So you look at these people and they're messaging people and they have the first and the last part. So they're like, okay, hey, you're a cool dude. Like I see that you're a business owner, whatever. Like their approach is like human, like it's not like mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they pitch, so they have some value, and I'm sure they're valuable, right? But the relevance isn't there to spark the conversation, and the relevance is actually what drives urgency for someone to respond, right? Because if someone's like,
Yeah.
hey, I saw that you won this award, and like you're like, oh man, like that's way more relevant than anything else in my inbox, because they're all saying like, hey, I see that you own a business, which like that you're not the only one. But if there's like some event or something that happened, like that's relevant. The hard part is that that's hard to find enough good like data points like that to get those people at scale. But that's probably where the problem comes into play, and that's why everybody's messages sucks.
And that's where you have a solution.
Yeah, that's where we have a solution. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's how we get like 80% reply rates. So
Wow.
that says anything. But.
So can you give us a gold nugget that if somebody took today and started applying to their LinkedIn strategy, that would propel them forward?
Yeah. So if they're doing LinkedIn and they're reaching out to people, okay, here's the thing. So in a lot of these like content marketing masterminds, workshops, whatever, right? Everybody's making good content, okay? And then that influencer is engaging in the people that are engaging in their content, okay? What if there's an influencer that's in your market, okay? And he's talking to people that are at the crossroad of considering a solution like yours and engaging with that person's posts, okay? Go reach out to those people.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And drive everything around that, because now you have a piece, like, right? You're like, hey, like they're engaging in content. Like you can reference the things that they're engaging with and be like, hey, I saw that you also like just like this post about this thing. And then for people that are doing lead magnets, right? Like make your lead magnet relevant to that and then bridge them.
Wow, that's powerful.
So like where you hack the people that are doing organic well, and and like roll out the red carpet for their prospects better than the influencer is. And then if you can figure out a way to do that at scale, like you crush the market, because you're scaling what's perceivably unscalable that people aren't even doing at a level manually.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes great sense, actually. Is there an advantage to being on multiple social platforms?
I think so. I think so for sure. It depends on your market. Like I have this interesting thing going on where like I do really well on LinkedIn. I get most of my clients there, but like I've noticed that when I'm on Facebook and talking about LinkedIn, that is controversial. And so I get like some extra attention for that. I didn't realize that until I started to get more attention and realize that like there's something going on there in an interesting way. But I would say, I mean, it's about the person. Like if once you've got one platform down, like you should go to another platform. And you should just keep exploring, and because it's going to stretch you in the content that you make. You might go make something for TikTok and then all of a sudden get an idea for Facebook. You know what I mean? That you wouldn't otherwise, but because you went in that environment that stretches you, you'll have new ideas because you have new things to look at and connect.
Let's expand on that a little bit. So is there a point where you're stretched too thin?
Yeah, if your results suck and you're spending a lot of time.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So from a scaling perspective, do you think there's a certain time to go from one platform to another, like from a revenue or anything like that?
I would say like if you're trying a platform and you hate it and it doesn't vibe with you, then like try, and you're not getting any sales, then I would say like try the other one to scratch the itch to see if like you like it, because a lot of times like if it aligns with you, like you're gonna make way better content. And then The other time would be like if you're doing good to the point where you're like, okay, like I want to scale and I have this figured out. Once you have it figured out where it's like a process and you have like, okay, this is like the recipe for this one, like figure out the recipe for another one, like at the same time. Cause like you have this locked in, like you've got it dialed in, like do that, continue to do that, and then dial another one in as like the next one, and then just like keep doing that. And then through that, you'll actually notice patterns that are happening on each of them. It's going to help you with your overall like content distribution, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So Nate, it's been a pleasure having you on the entrepreneur journey. Can you tell everyone about how to reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So you guys can just go to natemorse.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'll have some stuff on there. There's going to be some resources on the website. My book is on there as well. I think you guys can schedule a call with me there if you want to see like how this kind of stuff would work for, you know, your business, like where we would look and whatnot. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and we'll put
Thanks for
a
having me
link.
on.
No problem. Loved having you. And we'll put a link to book with you actually in the comments below too. So we'll put a link to the book and a link to book with you in the comments.